comes first. You're watching Idaho's News Channel 7. This is Viewpoint.
Hello everyone and welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Anita Cassay. Well, more bad news from the mountains this week. The monthly survey of the snowpack shows levels are extremely low, about 60 to 80% of what they are normally. Low snowpacks in the mountains means low water levels in our reservoirs. Take a look at the current numbers. Lucky Peak and Arrow Rock are just over 70% full. Anderson Ranch is about half full and Magic Reservoir a dismal 38% of capacity. News Channel 7's Allison Uten got a bird's eye view this week. She started at Lucky Peak, which looks deceptively full.
Well, right now the reservoir is about 25 feet from full, which actually isn't too bad. So Lucky Peak will actually be full around mid-May. The problem with Lucky Peak is that it will not stay full very long, probably just until about the end of June.
Now, Arrow Rock is already releasing water. Is that typical this time of year?
Right now we're releasing a lot of water in order to fill Lucky Peak. And it is unusual to be filling Lucky Peak at this time of the year. Usually we don't fill Lucky Peak until about the 1st of July.
Anderson Ranch is just a little over 50% full. How does that compare with previous years?
Well, for the last several years, since 1995, we've had pretty good water supply, and at this time of the year, Anderson Ranch Reservoir would be probably 75 to 80% of capacity and filling rather rapidly, and the reservoir level is now already dropping.
Does it give you a better perspective, more of a visual when you see these reservoirs from the air?
Well, it does drive it home. Work with the numbers all the time off the computer, but this certainly reinforces what the numbers have been telling us.
Well, this is certainly the worst reservoir we've seen on our tour today, 38% full.
Well, it's quite dire for the irrigators that are being served by that reservoir. I believe the irrigation district that operates Magic Reservoir is only anticipating being able to supply their irrigators with releases from Magic Reservoir for a period of about 30 to 45 days. So they'll probably be running out of their irrigation storage water in June, so that'll be a very severe situation for them.
That was Allison Uten reporting at a very severe situation for a lot of people. That's why 6 Idaho counties have already issued drought emergency declarations. One more is on the way, but with the water levels this low this early in the season, it's expected more counties will be added to the list. Joining us this morning to talk about the drought, a full table here, Dick Larson. He is with the State Department of Water Resources, Norm Semenko with the Idaho Water Users Association, and Canyon County Commissioner Todd Lakey. Good morning to you both, or all of you, and thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with you, Mr. Larson. I want to see you talk about the state picture. How is Idaho looking right now?
Well, Idaho's not looking good when it comes to our water supply. Pretty much anywhere you go in Idaho, we're talking snowpack levels 50 to 60% of normal. And unfortunately, this comes at the end of what was a dry year last year. So last year we dipped into all of our carryover supplies in our reservoirs to meet the demand last year, and this year we get half the amount of snow. So we're looking at short water conditions pretty much all over the state. That applies to surface water, and it's important to remember when we talk about water supplies in Idaho, we need to differentiate between surface water in our reservoirs and groundwater. Right now the critical demand is for surface water, and the truth of the matter is for most of our irrigators, they are not going to get full irrigation year supply of water. In some areas of the state, as you saw in the story, Magic Reservoir, you're talking about 30 to 45 days of water supply when normally they get 130 to 160 days of water. So it's going to be pretty severe. The pictures are really misleading. The reservoirs look great. I mean, it looks like they're full of water, but the truth of the matter is by the time we get to August or September, many of those are going to look like mud holes is what they're going to be, because they'll have been completely drained to supply our water needs.
Now, Norm, you're with the Idaho Water Users Association. How are you seeing the picture right now?
Well, we represent primarily irrigation districts and canal companies, and those are the folks that deliver water to the farmers. We see it much the same way Dick is mentioning. We're seeing reservoir levels 60 to 80% of average across the state. No part of the state is being spared. And what it really means for farmers is they're going to have to take measures to conserve water, to make the water go farther. What it also means is in a year when you have short water supplies, you have what's called regulation of water rights. Those people who have the more senior water rights that have been here longer, using water longer, will get their water first, and those that are more junior that have been here for a lesser period of time will be cut back earlier. And in an average or a good water year, you don't see that happen. In a year like this year, where the stream flows are low, you're going to see regulation by priority, and that's always a painful experience, but that's what our water law system in Idaho and throughout the West is. And then with the low reservoirs, we know that there's a low reservoir system. If we don't have some good spring rains and the streams are not there to provide water, we'll have to dip into the reservoirs early. And right now, it's looking like there is not going to be enough reservoir supply to get through the entire season for irrigators. Now that could change depending on weather conditions, but at this point it is not looking good.
Let's talk, a lot of subdivisions are tapped into that irrigation system now. Where would they fall on that list? Because a lot of people water their lawns with that irrigation.
That's an excellent point, and for a lot of the period here in the Treasure Valley that we've had these pressurized irrigation systems in place, last 10 years or so, there have not been serious drought conditions. But they are using irrigation rights. Those have a priority assigned to them, and it is possible, depending on how the priority system shakes out with the water supply we actually have, that you may see some curtailment there. You may see some, they're part of that priority system that we talked about. So that's a concern. Now, that won't affect people inside their homes with drinking water. That's a different system for most of those subdivisions, but that is going to be a concern.
People may actually have to pay from their house and use their water from the that they use. Have a brown lawn maybe for the summer, but that's a now in Canyon County, you are kind of keeping close watch on this situation as well, aren't you?
We definitely are. Canyon County is a very strong agricultural county, and the farmers are already facing a tough situation with commodity prices and other things, and a difficult water year can result in some real damage to crops. And we want to keep a very close eye on it and make sure that we aren't making things any tougher for farmers than necessary. In fact, we want to make sure that they have the ability among irrigation districts to help each other out and share any water and also act conservatively in their own usage.
It's got to be a difficult thing for the farmers to be thinking about they're not going to have enough water. What will they do, especially in the Magic Reservoir, what will they do when they don't have water past mid-June?
Well, one of the things that, that the counties have done, 6 of the counties, has asked for drought declarations. We've been contacted this week by other counties who are starting to inquire. The drought declaration that we issue allows flexibility in water rights so that you can move your water around. You can, instead of using it on this field, you can use it on that field, and it gives farmers some flexibility. But water is an infinite supply, and for irrigators, that infinite changes to finite when they run out. So if you get down, as Norm mentioned, to the point where you're deciding it by priority date, who's got the oldest water right, and if you don't have a water right that's old enough, you're not going to be delivered the water. So this means that farmers right now are starting to think, what type of crop should I be growing? Can I grow a crop, for example, it's not terribly water intensive, grain, instead of potatoes or corn or something like that? But for those farmers who have put in potatoes or sugar beets or those things that get irrigated late into the irrigation year, they're going to be at risk if the water's shut off unless they can find water somewhere else. If there's someone else that has something that could be in a water bank, or they can make some adjustments in that way, they're simply going to be out of water. That's the critical point. We look at water, but we have to look at the spring. We need rain, not to fill the reservoirs. We're not going to fill our reservoirs now, but to slow down the demand on the water that's stored in the reservoirs. And if we can do that, we might scrape through, but there's going to be farmers this year who are going to run out of water before their crops are ready to harvest, and we just don't know how that's going to turn out.
Could some spring rain really help then?
Well, anything helps that slows down the demand. You have to think in Idaho of water kind of like a savings account for your money. And you make your wage and you never tap your savings, and you make your wage and you never tap your savings, and then your paycheck gets cut in half. So now you start tapping the savings account to make up the difference. Well, what's going to happen in farmers is they have water in the streams from our runoff and our snowpack, but at some point there's not enough water to supply that, so they start tapping the reservoirs. When they run out of the savings account, you're simply out. You can't do anything else unless someone can get you or make you a loan or do something like that. So in the terms of farmers having water, once their water that they're entitled to is gone, unless they can make some other kind of arrangements, there isn't any water for them to get.
Another thing you've seen farmers doing this year, because of the low water supply and also because of the more expensive power that is coming our way, and this does affect hydropower too. If you have less water going down the river, you're going to have less power generated, and the Idaho Power Company and other power suppliers have to go out and buy more expensive power to supply that need. But farmers have realized that, and a number of them have signed up for a program that the Idaho Power Company has instituted, that other power companies have instituted, agreeing not to use as much power to pump water as they have in the past. So you've got, for example, with Idaho Power Company, over 150,000 acres enrolled in this program, agreeing not to irrigate those acres or to not use as much power. So that's been a direct result of this water supply situation. That will reduce the demand both for the water and for the power for this year because of the situation we have.
What is Canyon County doing right now? Have you declared a drought emergency yet?
Canyon County has declared a drought disaster emergency. When we got the information from our Farm Service Agency about what the water levels were and that this was going to be the second or third worst water year on record, we realized we needed to do something. We've talked a lot about advanced planning for farmers, and you have to do the same thing at a governmental level to help those farmers plan in advance how they're going to deal with the short water year. And part of that is declaring, I think, this drought disaster emergency, which will allow flexibility among farmers in irrigation districts and points of delivery.
Now, let's talk what counties besides Canyon County are declaring this drought emergency declaration.
So far, we've declared emergencies in Blaine and Butte counties, in Canyon County and Elmore County, in Bonneville County, and in Lincoln County. And if you kind of look, with the exception of Canyon County, if you kind of look at where those counties lie, they lie over sort of in the central to eastern part of Idaho. Most of them are contiguous or close to each other, and that's the area where the snowpacks this year were the worst. We've been contacted by other counties. Fremont County has contacted us, and they're all sort of in that same area, dependent upon the same supplies of water. Canyon County this year, and a compliment to Todd and these other commissioners, is that they were thinking ahead. You know, last year we had drought emergencies as well, because last year was a dry year. But those declarations were coming in June and July, even into August, as we sort of got in towards the back end of the irrigation season. This year we're declaring them in April and May. That's some indication that how our counties see what's coming. They know that the crisis is coming, and the time to do something about it is before we get into it. And that's a very forward-looking strategy that makes a whole lot of flexibility for the irrigators that they normally would not have.
We have much more to talk about, but we do need to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Napa Floors and Interiors would like to thank these fine Idaho builders for choosing the best in quality floor coverings and decorative products for the 2001 Parade of Homes. Whether you're planning on building a new home or remodeling, come experience Idaho's newest high-quality construction homes, incorporating the finest floor coverings and interior design. Take this opportunity to view the best in Idaho living from Napa Floors and Interiors, the first step toward a great home.
This court is adjourned.
An NBC motion picture event.
This is an outrage.
A judge accused of murder.
He didn't kill her.
The lawyer who despises him most is forced to defend him.
You owe me the truth. I don't owe you anything.
People magazine named Steve Martini's The Judge their show of the week, starring Chris Noth, Lolita Davidovich, Charles Durning, Sonia Braga, and Edward James Olmos.
He's telling the truth.
The Judge, NBC tonight, 9/8 Central.
Oxygen?
See the full line of home health care products at Norco Medical in Boise and Meridian.
Welcome back to Viewpoint, everyone. This morning we are talking about the water situation in Idaho, or we should say maybe the lack thereof. Let's talk about a drought. Some have the the idea that you have to have 7 years of dry weather, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
It really isn't. A drought is defined by how much water is available compared to normal. Idaho's been under a moderate drought rating for about the past 2 years. And it really depends, a drought depends on how much water is available compared to normal. And if you look at this year, there's hardly any water compared to normal.
And we're not talking groundwater. This is a surface water drought, correct?
People get really worried in our valley because 95% of all the water that we use for our homes in Idaho comes from groundwater. And we're getting calls at the Department of Water Resources saying, is my well going to dry up? Is it going to go under? What's going to happen? And we're not talking groundwater yet. We're talking surface water supplies. When we measure snowpack, we're talking about the amount of water that runs off into the reservoir, and that's what's way below normal. But groundwater levels will begin to become influenced if we go through 2, 3, 4, 5 years of drought. In 1987, for example, we entered a drought, and we were in drought for about 6.5, almost 7 years. And towards the end of that, people's wells were starting to go dry. We're not there yet. We've taken a look at water levels across the Treasure Valley, comparing 1978 to the year 2000, and water levels are essentially unchanged in that period of time. Some declines of maybe 10%, but in some areas they've actually gone up. But what you will see after several years of dry water, or of dry conditions, is groundwater levels begin to drop. And that's when you're going to start seeing people directly affected. Because then, beyond the farmer who's irrigating, it's the person who gets water for their home from their well are going to start facing the prospect of either drilling a deeper well or lowering their pumps or something like that. We're not there yet, but what happens next year and the year after that and the year after that is going to determine whether or not we go there or not.
There is another potential impact and need on groundwater. There are over 1 million acres in Idaho that are irrigated by groundwater. We're primarily irrigated by surface water, but we have groundwater as well, both as a primary source as a supplemental source to the surface water. I mentioned earlier the priority system where we regulate water rights. There are cases in Idaho where surface water and groundwater rights are connected, and groundwater pumping may actually impact stream flows. To the extent those kinds of things may be raised as issues and junior rights may be groundwater rights, there could be regulation. In other words, curtailment or impacts on groundwater to supply those more senior surface water rights. It's a very complicated matter of administration that the Department of Water Resources and water users are still sorting out, but as the years go by and we have additional drought conditions, that's an additional concern for surface and groundwater users during a drought.
Is there anything that we can do to prevent a groundwater drought, or is it just a battle against Mother Nature?
Well, I hate to tell you this, but we Idahoans have a mentality about water use that does not emphasize conservation. There's been studies done, and on a per capita basis, Idahoans are the most heavy users of water of any state in the entire country. On a per capita basis, according to the University of Idaho, every Idaho man, woman, and child uses 311 gallons of water every single day. That's 3 times the national average. It's more than any other state in the country. And that's because we've been so blessed with our resources, we've never really thought conservation. What can we do? Well, if you today begin to cut down on your water use, is it going to make a difference in the groundwater? Let me give you one small example. In the Boise Valley, the area served by United Water Idaho, on a really hot day in summer, 102 degrees in August, they'll pump almost 90 million gallons of water from the ground to supply their water people, their clients in the Boise Valley. On a February day, they'll pump 22 million gallons. So where's the other 68 million gallons going? It's going to keep our grass green. It's going to keep our shrubbery green. It's going to create this green valley that we have that's not natural. This is supposed to be a desert here. If you go south of Boise and you look out by Gowan Field and those areas, what you see is what we're supposed to be here. So what can we do? Well, we can begin to move to pressurized irrigation systems that Norm was talking about, where we use canal water. Maybe we begin to not have green lawns, but we use xeriscape. We begin to look at water not as this infinite thing that we can use forever, because it's always going to be there, but we begin to conserve it. And if we do that, that takes a mentality change within every individual citizen. If we do that, we'll preserve our resources. We're so blessed in this valley that we take it for granted. But you go to areas in Arizona and New Mexico and places like that where they've run out of their groundwater, where it's very strictly rationed in the summertime, and you can see what could happen. But in Idaho, the mentality has been there's always been enough water to do everything forever.
Well, Dick makes a good point about the demand side. There's also a supply side that we should talk about. If we didn't have the reservoirs that we have now in Idaho, we would have drought conditions more often. That provides, as Dick mentioned, an insurance supply or a savings account during a dry year. I don't think we're beyond the stage in Idaho where we should be looking at additional storage projects. There are other places where we could store water. You have to take advantage of the good years and the times when you do have water, and rather than seeing it all go downstream, we should be exploring the opportunity to store it in additional reservoirs or even in the ground. There are large recharge projects in Colorado and California and other states where you actually take water out of the river during a time when there's plenty of water there, spread it out over the ground and let it seep into the ground to recharge that aquifer. That helps the groundwater situation, and it also helps the surface water situation through spring flows to the river. So those kinds of things are long-term projects, things that we need to look at and that we have actively promoted looking at.
Are you actively looking at any areas that we would see in the near future?
During this last session of the legislature, there was actually a bill. It passed the House and was held up in the Senate, but it was a bill to study putting a storage project on the Weezer River. It's been referred to as the Galloway project, but there are other projects that folks have looked at on the Weezer River. That's just one example. The point is, though, that we need to take a comprehensive look across the state. The U.S. Bureau of Reclamation has looked at sites in the past, and there are plenty of sites that could be looked at. And certainly there are a number of recharge projects that have been identified by the Department of Water Resources and by water users, and we're just now beginning to explore in detail some of those projects and the water that would be necessary to provide water for those projects.
One of the things that Norm mentioned, the storage of water, is being done, in fact, here in the Boise area. Micron Technology has a very innovative project where they take water out of the Boise River about at the Highway 21 bridge. They pump it up and treat it to drinking water standards, inject it down into the ground so that when they get into the dry part of the year and they need water, they can then bring that water back up and use it. So it is, I guess, kind of like an underground storage system. But it's taking water off the river when it's available, when it's just running down the river anyhow, going out of the state, and putting that in a place where they can use it when they need it. And it's that type of forward thinking, that kind of creative thing that's going to lie in the answer. Conservation, if we all saved water, every single citizen could save as much water as we could, it may make some difference. But when you talk water, it's like as Norm said, when you've got, in this valley, we have 2 million acre-feet of water coming in, and we have 1 million acre-feet that's going out on down to the Snake River. If we could just store some of that to where we could use it in these lean times, it would begin to buy us an insurance policy.
Now in Canyon County, are you thinking about putting any restrictions on people when it comes to water consumption? Are we there yet?
I don't know if we're there yet. That's something we have to also keep a close eye on. I think, though, what we've talked about so far is increasing the awareness of people out there. That's one of the side benefits, I guess, of this drought declaration. It makes people more aware that we really are facing a tough water situation. And industries, agriculture, business, and individuals all need to be aware and conserve water in their usage.
I think when people hear drought declaration, they immediately think the worst, and we are not there yet, are we?
From what I can see, we're not there yet, but it's something we need to keep an eye on. These gentlemen know a little bit more about the specifics.
If you're a farmer, this is a bad year. Remember that our farm economy is in very bad shape anyhow. And our farmers, in many cases, our family farms are going under because of the bad crop prices. Well, if you take a situation where you have a bad farming economy anyhow, and then you layer on top of that maybe the inability to grow crops that get them a lot of money, or maybe the loss of a crop during the year because of the lack of water, we are. And what's more important, Nita, is that last year was kind of a dry year, so we tapped the bank a little bit. This year, we're going to drain our reservoirs. If you recreate and you water ski or you boat on a reservoir or whatever, you better do it early. if you raft and you kayak the rivers, you better do it early, because what you see out there now is not what it's going to be when we get down towards August and September. Those reservoirs are going to be drained. Now let's assume that we do that, and let's assume we get another bad snow year like we had this year, follows right behind. Situation, if you understand that water is the fuel that drives our state, it's what makes us prosperous. And if that's not there, that situation can become very critical for a lot of people very fast.
Dick makes the point that there are certain industries that are really going to be hit particularly hard, agriculture being one of those. And we may not have drinking water restrictions, but we do need to be aware of those industries that we really count on in the state and help protect them.
The only question really at this point is how bad a year is it going to be? We know it's going to be bad. The storage season in essence is over. Irrigation is underway in most parts of the state, and even region-wide throughout the Northwest. The question is, will this be the worst year, second or third worst year of record?
We really need to be thinking about next year as well, because we just can't predict the water, can we?
Absolutely.
Next year could be much worse. If we don't get adequate snowfall and get some reservoir refill, this year will pale in comparison to next year, because we won't even have the supply to get into some of the summer months next year.
This is what we were saying in 1987. Well, it's not too bad this year. It all depends on what next year is going to be. And then in 1988, we said, well, it's kind of bad and it's a little worse, but it all depends on what next year is going to be. And by 1992, having gone through dry year after dry year after dry year, we were in fact looking at water crisis in Idaho. Again, by that time, the groundwater levels then became influenced. There was a lot of litigation that went underway. There were claims for water. There were, at one time, a call asking us to turn off the pumps of almost 10,000 irrigators. So, who knows? Keep your fingers crossed and, thanks snow.
That's what we'll do. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Great discussion, very interesting. I learned a lot. Hopefully everyone at home did as well. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Hulley. Coming up next is 7 Days. We are going to take a look at that Idaho Power rate hike and what it will mean to your future power bills. The lowdown on the higher price for power, it's next on 7 Days.
The Ada County Sheriff's Department and the Boise Police Department are having an open house, and you're invited.
There will be tours of the Public Safety Building. That will include the dispatch center and detectives.
We'll have displays of equipment like patrol cars, motorcycles, a bomb truck, and the Marine unit.
There'll be demonstrations by the bomb squad, K-9 units, and emergency response team, and more.
Come meet the men and women of both departments.
It all happens on Saturday, May 19th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Vernon L. Bisterfeld Public Safety Building, 7200 Barrister.
Who inspires you?
Makes you a better person.
Keeps your fire lit.
Idaho's News Channel 7, home of the Winter Olympics in 2002, invites you to nominate an outstanding person to carry the flame in the Olympic torch relay.
To be our link in the chain of torchbearers nationwide who embody the Olympic spirit to their peers and community.
For a torchbearer nomination form, go to roadtosaltlake.com or any of these locations.
Help us light the fire within.
B, Idaho's News Channel 7.
Next on 7 Days, turn off the lights and turn down the heat. Your power bill is going up.
I don't think it's fair, but I mean, we don't get a choice in it, so there's really not much I can do about it.
People with fixed incomes, they can't keep standing, can't keep going on with this kind of increase.
What Idaho Power's rate hike could mean to you. But if you're looking for money, look no further than this 7 investigation on HUD loans.
There is a toll-free number there, and I called if you need additional information. And of course, wasn't able to get any additional information, so here I am, just waiting to get it.
Lee McGuire with the thousands of dollars owed to hundreds of Idahoans. Plus, relieving pain.
Daily life is pretty tough. You have nerve pain all the time.
you're on medications, and the medications half the time, your feet are on one planet, your head's on another.
Health reporter Maggie O'Mara on one woman's surgical relief for her constant pain. It's coming your way next on 7 Days.
And now, 7 Days, and the stories people are talking about. "7 Days. Now, here's Carolyn Holly.
The top story of the week. Get ready to shell out more money for power. Idaho Power got its rate increase, the highest in the company's history, and it went into effect immediately. So what can you expect on your next power bill? Here's David Oliver.
It's actually a lot of money. I don't think it's fair, but I mean, we don't get a choice in it, so there's really not much I can do about it.
People with fixed incomes, they can't keep standing, can't keep going on with this kind of increase.
But reality is new higher rates that hit different people in different ways. Take that new tiered rate schedule. 44% of Idaho Power customers will fall in the category that sees the least increase. 43% are in the mid-range of use, and only 12% round out the list of the highest energy users, who in turn get the highest hike.
There are a lot of people who use an extremely lot of power and they can't get out of it. Our son-in-law has a dairy. He consumes many, many watts of power.
It's tough. I mean, what are people going to do? The government should either subsidize power or make it available for everybody.
Two scenarios unlikely to happen, so to get through, both Idaho Power and the PUC are urging everyone to conserve. The message, use less, spend less.
I think the shock from these rate increases are getting people, power companies, as well as public utility commissions to start really beginning to encourage conservation.
To conserve or not, each customer must decide. Some, though, can already see the light at what's become a dark tunnel for power.
I do know that if it goes up, that it's planning on coming back down, and if they have to do that temporarily, I'm fine with it.
Idaho Power's original rate hike request was roughly $227 million, but the PUC only approved the recovery of about $168 million. Well, Idaho Power already has some alternatives up and running, that in an effort to keep future rates lower and the lights on this summer. 9 temporary generators are up and running. The generators will provide up to 40 megawatts of lower cost electricity for customers. The generators will allow Idaho Power to produce some much-needed electricity without going to the wholesale market. Part of the pending energy crisis is the fact that all signs are pointing to a low water year. Take a look at the current numbers. Lucky Peak and Arrow Rock are just over 70% full. Anderson Ranch about half full, and Magic Reservoir a dismal 38% of capacity. Allison Newton got a bird's eye view of the situation this week.
Well, right now the reservoir is about 25 feet from full, which actually isn't too bad. So Lucky Peak will actually be full around mid-May. The problem with Lucky Peak is that it will not stay full very long, probably just until about the end of June.
Now, Arrow Rock is already releasing water. Is that typical this time of year?
Right now we're releasing a lot of water in order to fill Lucky Peak. And it is unusual to be filling Lucky Peak at this time of the year. Usually we don't fill Lucky Peak until about the 1st of July.
Anderson Ranch is just a little over 50% full. How does that compare with previous years?
Well, for the last several years, since 1995, we've had pretty good water supply, and at this time of the year, Anderson Ranch Reservoir would be probably 75 to 80% of capacity and filling rather rapidly, and the reservoir level is now already dropping.
Does it give you a better perspective, more of a visual when you see these reservoirs from the air?
Well, it does drive it home. Work with the numbers all the time off the computer, but this certainly reinforces what the numbers have been telling us.
Well, this is certainly the worst reservoir we've seen on our tour today, 38% full.
Well, it's quite dire for the irrigators that are being served by that reservoir. I believe the irrigation district that operates Magic Reservoir is only anticipating being able to supply their irrigators with releases from Magic Reservoir for a period of about 30 to 45 days. So they'll probably be running out of their irrigation storage water in June. So that'll be a very severe situation for them.
That gives you a bird's eye view, and it is a severe situation for a lot of people. That is why 6 Idaho counties have already issued drought emergency declarations. But with the water levels this low, this early in the season, it's expected that more counties will be added to that list. And next, the rest of the week's news.
It points out certainly a problem that that should have been dealt with sooner. This time, somebody died.
More of 7 Days in 2 minutes.
Napa Floors and Interiors would like to thank these fine Idaho builders for choosing the best in quality floor coverings and decorative products for the 2001 Parade of Homes. Whether you're planning on building a new home or remodeling, come experience Idaho's newest high-quality construction homes, incorporating the finest floor coverings and interior design. Take this opportunity to view the best in Idaho living from Napa Floors and Interiors, the first step toward a great home.
In a race, you need the best: precision, speed, confidence. And in a race for your life, you need St. Alphonsus Life Flight and Trauma Center. Because specialized trauma treatment within 1 hour of your injury makes your chance of survival much greater. We're the region's only specialized trauma center, and we're standing by 24 hours a day, so you can win the race.
When life dealt a devastating blow, I lost a breast, I lost my hair, I lost my marriage, and worst of all, I lost my self-worth. I wanted to die. She turned trouble into triumph. I may have lost some of myself physically, but I'm so much more whole now. How to turn crisis into something meaningful. I'm looking at my life now, sometimes it's hard to believe. Life is awesome. It's unbelievable. Even for me. Monday's Oprah.
Monday at 4 on News Channel.
We're pretty much on schedule. Right. Did you fax it over? Great. Okay. When I get in the office this morning, I'll take a look at it. Yeah, I'm heading in right now. I just got to drop my daughter off at school on the way in, but I should be in around 9. Great. Look forward to it. I'll read it over and get back to you about 10.
Brought to you by St. Alphonsus and Idaho's News Channel 7.
I guess I could do a dinner.
At this point in 7 days, we strive to get you caught up on the week's news. Here is the 7 Days Week in Review. It's going to cost you more to fly out of the Boise airport. Airport officials have gotten the okay to bump a $3 fee to $4.50. The money would be used for capital improvements such as the new terminal project. Some passengers weren't too happy to hear about the new fee, and it will go into effect August 1st. On Tuesday, Micron Electronics sells its PC division to a California company, Gorez Technology. The price, $70 million. Gorez is known for turning around struggling companies. Nampa's mayor is excited about that.
I understand that they're going to keep the employment base, that they're going to keep the management in place, and so nothing should really change. If anything, it should become a stronger market.
Gorez will keep the product name of Micron PC. On Wednesday, details about an alleged drunk driver who may have killed a man. Police say 31-year-old Jerry Brent Rawls of Nampa has an extensive record of DUIs. One in Boise, Adams County, and Valley County. Add to that a DUI in Nampa where he pled guilty to a lesser charge. Police claim he was involved in a fatal DUI accident this week in Canyon County. They say he ran a stop sign at Amity and Robinson, slammed into a Camaro and then a semi. 23-year-old Jonathan Sorrell died. 19-year-old Don Bowers was critically injured. Rawls is charged with felony vehicular manslaughter, aggravated DUI, and driving without privileges. On Thursday, we learned a record number of Idahoans filed for bankruptcy in March, 867 people. That is up 40% from the month before and more than 20% from this time last year. And on Friday, the Bush administration's decision that affects 9 million acres of forests in Idaho. Here's Robbie Johnson.
I can't advertise for wilderness adventure or scenic adventure and bring somebody into a forest that's been trashed.
Brian Simmy has been a licensed outfitter for 5 years. People come from all over the world to see Idaho's pristine woods, and he believes we need to preserve that beauty.
It's nice to have some area that has been opened up by logging and selective logging.
But Simmy is also a former logger.
The loggers need roads to get in there and to harvest the timber.
Which leaves Simmy looking for some middle ground on the roadless issue. He thinks he may have found it. The Bush administration announced that the ban on road building will take effect, but changes will be made to allow more local input.
Somehow he recognized that there is a way to move forward, to protect our lands, but also to give local folks more of a say. And that's a tremendous challenge to all of us, and I think we are up to the challenge to work together.
Idaho's delegation is also supporting the changes.
They recognize the importance of cleaning up this rule and dealing with roadless areas, dealing with the environmental sensitivity of them, but also going forest by forest, community by community, and involving everyone in a final approach.
Meanwhile, Simmy will spend much of his time in parts of our state that roads still haven't reached. But as far as banning new roads, he hopes there is a move to keep everyone involved in what will happen next.
It's going to take give and take there. It can't all be one-sided. And we all have to make a living out here.
The state of Idaho is still making a legal effort to stop the roadless rule from going into effect. Governor Dirk Kempthorne and Attorney General Al Lance said that President Bush's plan to handle the issue is not adequate. Don't go away. A 7 investigation into money that the feds owe Idahoans.
I mean, they put the mortgage insurance in there. They should get the refund if it's due them.
Lee McGuire tracks down the details next.
Integrity Counts is a recognition program established by the Better Business Bureau serving southwest Idaho and eastern Oregon. Integrity Counts honors local firms whose business operation and related activities demonstrates a commitment to integrity and ethical business practices. For information on how to nominate a local business for this award, call 342-4649.
Your weather forecast and current conditions are just a phone call away. The Weather Line at 373-7700. Brought to you by St. Alphonsus Regional Medical Center and Idaho's News Channel 7, where the news comes first.
How about a couple of ugly cards? Sunday, May 6th is the High School Nationals at Firebird, and it's time to decide who has the best school. Join us for this alcohol-free day of drag racing for high school alumni and junior dragsters, a free shirt for all the racers, the U.S. Marines team games, ugly car contests, beat the heat, plus the tug-of-war showdown, ice cream eating championships, and more. We at Firebird, along with Idaho's News Channel 7 and supporting sponsors, are proud to bring you this day of family entertainment, alcohol-free. The High School Nationals, Sunday, May 6th at Firebird.
Join us for this mom's best recipe tomorrow on Idaho at Sunrise with Maggie O'Mara and Dale Dixon on Idaho's News Channel 7, where the news comes first.
The Boise Noon Optimist Club presents another exciting season of Optimist Youth Football. Sign-ups begin Saturday morning, May 5th, and will be held at the Optimist Youth Sports Complex on Hill Road in Boise. Flag football is available for 7 and 8-year-old boys and girls, while 9 to 12-year-olds play tackle. Sign-ups will be held Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings in May at a new sign-up location, the Optimist Youth Sports Complex on Hill Road in Boise. Players must be present at sign-up with a birth certificate. Sign up early and be part of the fun and excitement of another season of Optimist Youth Football.
Does the federal government owe you money? There are hundreds of Idahoans who could be getting checks from the feds if the government would pay up. In a 7 investigation, News Channel 7's Lee McGuire reports the government is keeping some $300,000 all to itself. It's part of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and it's insured housing loans.
Okay, hold on, please.
Dan Sweet is on hold again. For 9 years now, he's been trying to get through to the folks at HUD. They owe him some money. In fact, in Idaho alone, they owe 626 people some money.
Well, those are big dollars. Grand total $342,600. $659.
HUD owes all of these people a refund on something called their mortgage insurance premium, anywhere from $100 to $2,000. HUD says it can't find any of those people, but we found Dan and lots of others with no problem. And they all said HUD has made it too hard to claim the cash.
There is a toll-free number there, and I called if you need additional information. And of course, I wasn't able to get any additional information, so here I am, just waiting to get it.
And HUD wasn't any help when we tried to call them either. A spokesman told us to wait several months before he could answer any questions about the refund program. So, just like Dan Sweet, we're on hold too. Rena Peterson runs a small home business off of HUD's missteps. She's using the same list we have to track down people who are owed money but don't know it.
I mean, they put the mortgage insurance in there. They should get the refund if it's due them.
Lots of her letters get sent back undeliverable. The people she does find say HUD has just made it tough to get the cash.
But how hard could it be to get the refund back for these people? And why haven't they got it back already?
But Dan is making some progress. After 9 years on hold, he finally got through.
Support Service, and this is Mary. How may I help you?
But they weren't much help.
What is your current mailing address, please?
It's 2975 North.
Hold on, please.
HUD did tell him what he has to send to get his refund.
Copy of your deed or copy of your HUD settlement statement?
Copy of my deed and copy of my HUD
Settlement statement.
settlement statement.
Yes, sir.
But 9 years later, Dan's not sure he still has that.
My deed? I don't know. I don't have a deed.
So if he can dust off those documents from long ago, maybe Dan can get at that bit of money he's long been owed.
It's a typical government thing of how hard it is to get through a bunch of bureaucratic paperwork to find out that they owe you the money that you should be getting.
So is any of this free money waiting for you? Well, again, it is insurance premium money that becomes a refund once you pay off your HUD loans. If you've ever taken out a HUD housing loan, give them a call. Their number is 1-800-697-6967. You can also log on to KTVB.com and click on the Hot Links section. HUD runs a website where you can check to see if they do indeed owe you money. Dealing with chronic pain.
Without the pump, I could probably be in a nursing home, laying in a fetal position, and not much of a quality of life. Not much at all.
Health reporter Maggie O'Mara with some advice on easing that pain. It's next.
Next time you're out, don't forget to stop in to the Idaho Youth Ranch. It's full of wonderful stuff. Clothing, furniture, books, shoes, blankets and bedding, housewares, camping gear, even sunglasses. It's a great place to power shop. The Idaho Youth Ranch, with 17 Valley locations to serve you.
Thousands of drivers are saving money by switching to Geico Auto Insurance. I'm here with one of them.
Hello.
You don't want your identity revealed. Why?
If word got out I saved so much, people would be hitting me up for money all the time.
Ah.
You through with the milk?
Sure, of course.
I have to be careful.
Geico Direct, a 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
It wasn't that he didn't like dressing down. I mean, who doesn't like being comfortable? It's just that he felt it was time to move on. Not back to where we were, but somewhere in between, where he could still be comfortable, but also confident in how he looked. After all, the workplace could keep getting more relaxed, but chances are, we don't want to go there.
Men's Warehouse.
You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it.
Every day, the American Red Cross responds to disasters affecting thousands of families or just one person. Families depend on the American Red Cross to respond immediately during times of disasters with shelter, with emotional support, and other needed assistance. You can help. Please call 1-800-HELP-NOW to offer your financial support for American Red Cross disaster relief. Call 1-800-HELP-NOW. Together we can save a life.
It's a tough way to live, life with chronic pain. Some people have pain so bad, medication and even surgery can't stop it. But the good news is there are some new implantable devices that can stop the pain and help people start living again. This weekend, Maggie O'Mara shows us how they work to take your pain away.
It's a nerve pain that it's a pain I've never felt in my life before. It's a burning pain.
A little over a year ago, Diane McCormick broke her leg skiing.
The break healed just fine, but the nerve damage never did.
She's been in pain ever since, and nothing has eased it.
Daily life is pretty tough. You have nerve pain all the time. You're on medications, and the medications half the time, your feet are on one planet, your head's on another. It's not a good thing. It's been hard. I've done PT, chiropractic, hands-on healing. I've done acupuncture. I did everything conservatively first.
Today, she's making a big move, undergoing surgery to have a spinal cord stimulator like this one implanted inside her.
It's a real problem. I mean, lots of people suffer from chronic pain.
Dr. Rick Dubose specializes in pain management. He'll be doing the surgery.
Even though she'd had excellent conservative care and lots of medication and physical therapy and what have you, she just wasn't getting any better.
The stimulator will mask the pain signals being sent to Diane's brain.
And through a needle, you place the electrodes under an X-ray machine in the area where you think the nerves are coming in, and then you move the electrodes up and down with the patient awake until they say, yeah, that's this kind of the sweet spot. Once that's done, then you make an incision around those needles and bury the wires, bringing them around to the front, and then you just put this underneath the abdominal wall so that the patient can get to it. So it basically sends out so many electrical impulses into the cord that the spinal cord and the brain are confused, and you don't feel the pain anymore. It's replaced by a buzzing sensation or a tingling sensation.
And there's another implantable device for pain management. It's called the intrathecal pump, delivering medication right to the source of pain.
Without the pump, I could probably be in a nursing home, laying in a fetal position, and not much of a quality of life. Not much at all.
Patty Small has MS. She needed the pump to control her spasms.
I could propel myself out of my wheelchair just by a spasm hitting.
Now she never has spasms, and her life is her own again.
So the pump is implanted here under your skin. The catheter to the pump goes around your waist and directly into the spine.
The pump continuously supplies her medication right to her spine, and every 3 months, she gets a pump refill through her skin.
Because she has the pump in now, her spasticity is virtually gone, and the pain associated with it is virtually gone.
Hi, sweetie pie. How's my girl, huh? I can reach over, I can pet the dog. I can butter my own toast. You know, there's just so many things that I can do that I couldn't do before.
A week after surgery, Diane McCormick is living pain-free too.
And when they woke me up and they said, can you feel this? And I said, yeah, I can feel a tingling, because that's what it is. It's a tingling sensation. And as soon as I felt that, I said, I don't feel the pain. This is wonderful.
She carries a remote control device to turn it on and off and to increase or decrease the stimulation.
So when the pain gets really bad, like in the evenings, I can just increase it by just putting it over here, and you can hear it beeping.
Now she can wear high heels again, something she could never do before.
And so for me to wear high heels and to wear dresses, and I'm looking forward to summer is here, and shorts and a bathing suit, I just can't wait.
And both women are glad they did it.
For the right patients, they can be godsends.
Maggie O'Mara, Idaho's News Channel 7.
These implantable devices are expensive, but they are covered by most health insurance plans. The doctor stresses that this option is only for those who have failed everything else, and the devices can only relieve certain types of pain. For more information on pain management, log on to our website at ktvb.com. And when we come back, the young man who has already accomplished a real musical feat.
You're not exactly the person I expect to see when I hear that loud music booming out of these pipes.
Well, I like the power that you can create with the organ and the many different sounds you get, and it's complicated, which makes it fun.
John Miller finds out how he does it next.
Some projects you can do by yourself. Others require an expert. Electricity is one of them. Whether it's wiring, lighting, a small home renovation, or a large commercial contract, Tri-State Electric gives each project the time and expertise you need. And we provide 24-hour service for electrical emergencies. We do electricity so you can feel safe and secure.
We've got the power to do the job right. Get the power of Tri-State Electric.
I'm Tom Hudacko here in Salt Lake City, where the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is known worldwide for their genealogical library. Anybody can come and explore their family heritage. But now a college professor is combining old-fashioned genealogy with the latest technology, and soon you may be able to trace your family tree with your DNA.
Genetic Genealogy. Monday at 10 with Carolyn Hawley and David Oliver on Idaho's News Channel 7, where the news comes first.
I'm Noah Wiley.
And I'm Kelly Green.
Anyone can experience an extreme traumatic event, such as a physical or sexual assault, a serious accident, a natural disaster, or the sudden unexpected death of a loved one. Some people who experience, witness, or learn about trauma will develop a serious but treatable medical condition called post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD.
I developed PTSD after being raped. For months I couldn't sleep, I had flashbacks, and felt numb.
Thankfully, Kelly saw a physician who diagnosed her with PTSD.
It was such a relief to learn that I had a medical condition that could be treated. Finally, there was hope that I could get my life back.
To learn about PTSD, talk to your doctor and call the Moving Past Trauma PTSD information line at 1-800-455-8300.
With professional help, I recovered from PTSD. You can too. So can someone you know or care about. Call 1-800-455-8300.
He's a young man with big potential, a musical genius of sorts. Here's John Miller with his story.
I'm David Hunter, and I've been playing piano since I was 7, and I started organ at 9.
You're not exactly the person I expect to see when I hear that loud music booming out of these pipes.
Well, I like the power that you can create with the organ and the many different sounds you get, and it's complicated, which makes it fun.
At 15, David's still a soft-spoken kid, though his actions speak much louder than words. Just ask his teacher.
I think I can safely say it's the hardest instrument in the world to play. It is a monster. Sometimes we think of it as a beast.
Well, you got plenty of keyboards and the pedals.
Not to mention those giant pipes. One wrong note would ring pretty loud and clear, huh?
Yep.
Even his audience knows this is no easy feat.
Really, the power is just amazing. It just surrounds you.
Mm-hmm. For a 15-year-old kid.
It is amazing. He's did a beautiful job.
You know, they got a big one of these down in Salt Lake City. Maybe someday, huh?
Yeah.
Though David knows a job at the Tabernacle would mean filling some big shoes. His are already big enough to reach these keys. And note by note, 15-year-old David Hunter is taming the beast. John Miller, Idaho's News Channel 7.
And we will end on that note. See you in another 7 days.
His body is his temple. This weekend, give his soul a workout. Invite a friend to your house of worship.
Idaho's first television station, KTVB, Boise.
Make-A-Wish wants you to become a hero for hope by attending this year's annual gala, A Wishful Affair, Heroes for Hope. Come and enjoy a 1940s USO-style dinner and dance on Saturday, June 16th at the new Warhawk Air Museum in Nampa. See World War II planes and memorabilia galore. For tickets, call Make-A-Wish at 342-8982. Come and share in the uplifting power of a wish and enjoy the spirit of giving.
Putting them
goodness. The Kings are lighting it up now. And it's a rematch of the playoff.
I got set. Sunday night, we're going to Philadelphia.
And the 76ers advance to the second round.
This is the NBA on NBC. Here's Ahmad Rashad.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our coverage of the NBA on NBC. I'm joined here by Kevin and TJ as we get set to bring you another playoff tripleheader. The conference semifinals continue today with 3 more series getting underway. Our first game is in Milwaukee, where the Bucks host the biggest surprise team of the playoffs, the Charlotte Hornets. They're coming off a sweep of Miami, and they are a legitimate threat against the Bucks, having beaten them, having won 3 out of 4 during the course of the season.
All begins with Paul Silas, old-fashioned throwback brand of basketball. He knows how to win. You do the little things. You play defense, you rebound, you force turnovers, you keep the opposition down to a low field goal percentage. On the other hand, George Karl's team is fighting for respect. George Karl says there won't be a lot of trash talking. It won't take long for Baron Davis and Sam Cassell to go at it today.
Yeah, but if you look at the conference semifinals, it's a new day, a lot of new teams, PJ.
Brand new day, 6 new teams in, and when you look at how long it's been since some of these teams, since they've been in the conference finals, a couple have never been there. This is going to be an awful long time. That means new faces. Yes, San Antonio and Los Angeles have been there, but nobody else. A lot of teams who say they've got something to prove, they've got the opportunity right now. These next 2 weeks are going to be great.
Beating them. That's what I was trying to say.
It's a playoff. You got all day to work on that. Triple header.
We begin with game 1 between the Bucks and the Hornets, and right now let's get a report from Andrea Joyce in Milwaukee.
All right, Ahmad, thank you. It is a beautiful day for a tailgate party at the Bradley Center. The fans here have waited a long time for this. The first time the Bucks are into the second round of the playoffs in 12 years. And as you can see, lots of festivities, live music, a sea of green and purple colors, clowns, and face painting. Now, the Bucks do have the best home record in the Eastern Conference this year. Only lost 10 games here at the Bradley Center, but 2 of those losses came to Charlotte. Now, I asked Glenn Robinson about it. He said Charlotte simply out-hustled them, out-rebounded them, and that was the key. He did point out, however, that Milwaukee did out-rebound Orlando in the first round of the playoffs, so he looks for an improvement there. Nobody out here is talking about rebounding, though, trust me. On every seat in the arena will be one of these rally towels. Light it up, light it up. And Ahmad, if you are nice, I will take one of these and put a brat in there and wrap it up for you and bring it back to New York, because that is what the Bucks do best, lighten it up and brats. Back to you.
Right. Thank you very much, Andrew. It is amazing what a camera will do to people. I mean, it will make you almost nuts. All right, after finishing 6th in the East this year, the Charlotte Hornets were heavy underdogs heading into the playoffs, but that was before their stunning sweep of the Heat. The Hornets are now on a roll with 7 straight wins, and they couldn't have picked a better time to do it.
This team has gone through a lot of adversity this year, ups and downs, but came together right at the right time. So I think it's unlimited as to where we can go.
1, 2, 3, yeah!
Each and every single person on this team, we're all on the same page, and there's one common goal, and everybody's trying to obtain it.
A new star has been born in Baron Davis. Davis has proven something.
Look at what the Knicks did a few years ago, from going to 8th seed and going all the way to championship. You know, it's a funny thing when teams come together.
And the Charlotte Hornets have sent shockwaves through the NBA.
I came to the locker room one day and I asked some of the guys if they wanted to wear a headband for playoffs.
So far, we're 3-0 with them on, and, you know, guys know they look silly, but, you know, they still put it on to show that, you know, they have team unity.
Can you believe the Charlotte Hornets have swept the Miami Heat?
I think everybody's pretty much, you know, either counting us out in Miami or counting us out in this series.
Throughout the season, we weren't really consistent. Now, things are starting to come around. We're still an underdog, but we still have to go out and prove ourselves.
We don't care about being the underdogs. We know what we're about. We know what we can do. And it's kind of nice to prove everybody wrong.
The Hornets dominated the Heat in the first round, thanks in large part to Jamal Mashburn, who burned his former team, averaging 24 points in the series. As he gets ready to face the Bucks, Jamal spoke with Peter Vesey.
Thanks, Ahmad.
Obviously, in the first series against Miami, you had some extra incentive because of the trade and some friction between you and Tim Hardaway and possibly Pat Riley. What's your extra motivation in this series?
Well, extra motivation to win a championship and continue to advance. I think that's been my motivation all year, and I think a lot of people have taken and ran with all the whole situation with down there in Miami and everything like that, but my whole thing all year has been just to advance in the playoffs. I mean, I've been in the Eastern Conference Finals with the Heat, and now it's to take a bunch of these guys here and have a lot of fun with them. I mean, we've just got great chemistry.
All right, well, let me help you a little bit. You didn't make the All-Star team this year. I felt you were snubbed. You know I've been on your side. Okay. You're going up against Glenn Robinson, two-time All-Star.
Yeah, Glenn is a great player. I've always liked Glenn's game since Purdue. I mean, me and him are good friends. We talk to one another on the court, and he's just a great guy. But it's time to compete now, and you know, it's not for All-Stars. It's for NBA, all NBA. That's my whole thing. That's what I want to be about, all NBA.
Now, Pat Riley said after the loss that if he were the Heat owner, he would fire himself. Now, if you were the Heat owner, what would you do with Pat?
Actually, to be honest with you, a lot of people think me and Pat had a lot of differences amongst each other. I like his professionalism. I mean, he's one of the better coaches in the league. He reminds me of Coach Pitino in a lot of ways and the way they prepare, and so I was used to that part of it. And Pat taught me how to be professional. I have nothing against Pat or anything like that, and he knows that. And he taught me how to be a pro. I mean, Coach Pitino taught me how to be a good college player, and Coach Riley taught me how to be a professional.
He also taught you how to be diplomatic.
Yeah.
Back to you, Ahmad.
You know.
All right, thanks, Peter. When he played for the Heat, Jamal Mashburn was criticized for not coming through in the playoffs, but it seems like he may be starting to erase that reputation, Kevin.
Peter tried to bait him a little bit. He wouldn't bite.
Wouldn't go for it.
He has developed so much as a young person, a mature player. He's very focused, talks about advancing into the playoffs. Look for Jamal Mashburn today and in the series to maybe threaten on triple-double type numbers day in and day out. The guy can score on the block, can score on the perimeter, a very good leader, and him and P.J. Brown are really stepping up, providing great leadership for that Hornet team.
P.J., is there an edge in this series?
If there's an edge for Charlotte, there's no question it's on the boards, Ahmad. They're a great rebounding team because they do it by committee. It's never one guy with the Charlotte Hornets. Start out with one of the best rebounding point guards in the league in Baron Davis. You have to pay attention to him. Jamal McGlure off the bench there with the finish. I'm a little partial to this guy right here, Brown. I forget his first name, but he's an excellent rebounding forward. Mash, we've been talking about. Mash had a couple double-doubles. He had a triple-double against Milwaukee in the regular season, way above average rebounder. And again, defensive rebounding important. They can come off the bench. Derek Coleman with the outlet pass here. Eddie Robinson, Otis Thorpe, don't forget about it. So they have an awful lot of players. They really do a great job on the boards. Milwaukee has got to compete there.
Now, Kevin, you were talking about Jamal Mashburn. Are you saying that this is a chance for him to go from a star to a superstar?
And he better grab this opportunity. Yes, it is. He has an opportunity. He has a national stage. Everybody talked about his playoff performance in the past. Now he has a chance to lead his team to the next level. It is an excellent opportunity for him to go from this level to that level.
All right, coming up, we'll head west for a look at the growing rivalry between the Kings and the Lakers. You're watching the NBA on NBC.
This is one of those magic moments.
Anything in the mail?
Junk.
Hey, look at this. What?
A credit card pre-approved. You know what that means.
You already have a credit card.
But it's pre-approved. What do you want? A trip to Bermuda?
The Caymans?
Yeah. Or a nice dinner out.
You know what I want? A house.
Using credit wisely is the first step toward owning a home. Call for the free guide on credit from the Fannie Mae Foundation and for a list of lenders and credit counselors.
America Online. It's like one big family.
Our family is always connected.
You've got mail.
There is a sense of community.
Customer service 24 hours a day, whenever I need them.
There's always somebody to help. I trust America Online.
AOL helps protect my kids online. It's so easy, even my dad can do it.
More ways to get in touch and stay in touch.
They just keep making it better and better.
AOL has it all.
There's never been a better time to join. America Online. So easy to use, no wonder it's #1. Call 1-800-4ONLINE.
AOL keeps me closer to the people I love.
When the question comes, and it will, have I got what it takes today? Answer with this. Gatorade Energy Bar. Carbs to build stores of energy. Energy to burn. What burns inside you?
Professor, we got issues with this ball.
Yes, number 8. We've been expecting you. I must show you our latest innovation. The Spalding Infusion Basketball. When you find yourself in trouble, release the hidden micro pump and increase the air pressure. This should give you the edge you need. Use caution number 8. The Eastern Conference will stop at nothing to get this ball.
You've done it again, Professor. This is perfect.
The new Infusion Basketball from Spalding. Play the best.
With the 512th pick in the NBA fan draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Ruth Gilman.
Every time you use 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls, you could be drafted to an NBA team. If your team goes to the finals, you go too and get a $25,000 signing bonus. Just dial down the center, 1-800-CALLATT. The more you call, the more chances you have to win a trip to the NBA Finals.
Yo, what's up, dog?
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls. And by Spalding. Play the best. Play Spalding.
Yesterday, the Western Conference semifinals tipped off with the Battle of Texas. It was game 1 between the Spurs and the Mavericks.
Final seconds of the half. Anderson! Oh, what a bad foul. If that's a flagrant 2, he's ejected. And that is the case. It is automatic ejection.
Derek Anderson has suffered a third-degree right separated shoulder, and it looks as though he'll be out for 3 to 6 weeks.
Elliott off the fake. Duncan with the tip. San Antonio making a run. Dallas has to be very careful not to get blown out right now. Avery Johnson able to penetrate. It is a blowout here by San Antonio.
It is a long series. It's not a one-game series. Our back is not to the wall or in the corner like it has been for our last 3 games. And it's a game that, of course, we have to play better and with more energy, and we will.
The Mavs will try to even the series Monday night in San Antonio. As for the Spurs, they are practicing right now, and the word on Derek Anderson is that it's a grade 3 shoulder separation, the worst possible kind. He's still expected to miss 3 to 6 weeks. Right now, let's rejoin Peter Vesey in Milwaukee. Peter, the Mavericks' victory over the Utah Jazz, they're out in the first round for the first time in 6 years. Is this finally the end of Utah's run?
Well, as far as doing well in the playoffs, it looks like it is. But, Ahmad, they had an excellent regular season. And as long as Karl Malone and John Stockton come back, which they will, and they'll be back in force, this team is going to stay respectable. They retooled last summer. They added 6 new players, and they were able to get a find like Donyell Marshall. They're going to try to do that during the offseason this summer. But, you know, to come up with a guy like that is going to be very difficult. They know hard days are ahead.
All right, staying out west, let's turn to the Suns, who lost to the Kings in 4. Where does Phoenix go from here?
Well, I know for a fact that the Suns were shopping Jason Kidd right up until the trading deadline. The Colangelos backed off at the last minute when they could have moved him and Cliff Robinson to Vancouver for Michael Bibby and Sharif Abdur-Rahim. I believe that they will do something drastic. The Colangelos want to start fresh. That's their MO over the years. Give the franchise and the city some hope. You might see a Jason Kidd for Stephon Marbury trade. Something with Jason Kidd.
All right, in the East, the Knicks failed to reach the second round for the first time in a decade. Are they in any kind of position to make major changes for next year?
You know, Ahmad, they've got very few assets to trade. Allen Houston's a free agent to be if he wants to exercise his escape clause. But he has to agree to a trade. They can't get big by trading a Allen Houston. They could probably only get small, possibly trade him for Gary Payton. So the only thing I'm seeing possibly is maybe they change the voice. I'm not saying they're going to get rid of Jeff Van Gundy, but there's a possibility that he could walk away after this season. It's just he looks awful haggard to me, Ahmad. And I think Larry Johnson's going to retire. I believe Luke Longley's going to retire. So they might be able to restock by getting some injury exceptions, a $4 million exception that every team has, and go on from there.
All right, thank you very much, Peter. In our second game today, it's game one between the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers. They met in the first round last season, with the Kings taking the series to the limit before losing in 5 games. Now these teams are about to add a new chapter to their rivalry.
You love the playoffs because your star players come to the front. That's what this is all about.
Last year, the Lakers took the first 2 games of the series easily, and they headed to Sacramento looking for a sweep.
We just did what we were supposed to do. Now we just need to go up there and, get game 3.
But they didn't get game 3 or game 4 either, as the Kings, spurred on by their home crowd, took both contests and put LA's back against the wall.
The series goes back to Los Angeles for game 5.
And the Lakers face adversity for the first time in the playoffs. And we'll see how they respond.
But Shaquille O'Neal would take matters into his own hands, dominating at both ends and leading the Lakers to a 27-point win. This year, the Kings and the Lakers battled it out for the Pacific Division title, with LA coming from behind to win it by 1 game. Bill Walton is working today's game, and he joins us from Los Angeles. Bill, the Kings gave the Lakers quite a battle last season, but this year, it's not about giving them a battle. It's about winning the series.
Ahmad, it all comes down for Sacramento to the offense they're going to play. Now, so many times teams come in to this loneliest place in the entire NBA, the visiting locker room, having to go up against Shaq, and they think that the way to beat Shaq is by just giving the ball to his man, in this case Vlade Divac, and say, you go and score against Shaq. That is absolutely the wrong way to go about it. It's not going to work whatsoever. You've got to play a different kind of game, an alternate attack. You got to come with give and goes. You got to play dribble handoff games. You got to involve Shaq, make him guard the ball with screen and rolls, and then when Vlade has that ball up at the high post offensive position, when he's got his game really going, then he has to look through Shaq and pass down to guys like Peja Stojakovic, who's playing very, very well, and Chris Webber, who has to put up big numbers.
Bill, Sacramento's more experienced, they're more confident, and they're a better defensive team this year than they were last year. What role or what impact do you think that'll have on this series?
Well, the defense and the experience has certainly come a long way. Peja Stojakovic, a very underrated defensive player, and there's a lot of hope that Doug Christie can slow down Kobe Bryant in the backcourt. The key, though, is going to be the bench. Can they get the production? The offense for Sacramento was not good enough against Phoenix. They beat a Phoenix team that was not very good. When you're playing great defense, that's a result of your balanced offense. If they get out of sync on offense, if they just start jacking up those ill-advised threes and they're not going down, then their defense is going to have no chance to rotate. And to play against Shaq defensively, you have to be a defender and not a fouler.
Thank you very much, but you sound like you're really ready for that game today.
Well, absolutely. We got a game. I mean, the fans here, we saw the fans in Milwaukee.
I didn't mean to ask you another question. I just meant to say, get ready to have a great game today.
There's always another question.
All right, Bill. Now, as you look at this series, there are a lot of key matchups, including Doug Christie and Kobe Bryant. But anytime you're playing the Lakers, you got to deal with Shaquille O'Neal, PJ.
I don't think you can deal with Shaquille O'Neal, Ahmad, but Bill in his dissertation alluded to playing a little bit different. You have to play full court. Sac does that well, and it's got to be up and down the floor. If they let Shaq get anchored inside and try and play offensively or defensively against him, you can't be successful.
And he's shooting a great field goal percentage, and he likes that feeling of being world champion.
And he's making his free throws. After the Kings and the Lakers, it's the Toronto Raptors heading to Philadelphia for Game 1 against the Sixers. Chris Raggy caught up with the Raptors' Vince Carter.
Thanks, Ahmad, with Vince Carter. Vince, have you been able to kind of quell the excitement? I know this is big for you guys. First time in franchise history you make it to the second round, but there's a bigger job ahead now.